Music. I'm Jim Czech with Kelowna Now. I'm here with Jerry Redman with the Remax report for Kelowna here. We're going to talk about stats. What's going on in the markets, Jerry?
Well, the market is, you know what, I'm going to say treading water, right? It's, things, some inventory's up, some inventory's down, some prices are up, some prices are down in different sections. So it really is. We'll talk a little bit about it. We've got a few slides today to kind of break it down between single family and townhomes and condos. But, right now I think a lot of people are just continuing to wait on the Bank of Canada rates. There's so many forecasts, so many people talking about those rates continuing to come down. I think a lot of buyers are just sitting there waiting
for that rate. But I guess you could do the variable rate and then just kind of like benefit from it coming down too.
For sure. And you know what, that's what we've been saying for a while, and we've had this conversation a couple times in here, is that, marry the house and date the rate. Right now you've got a lot of choice out there.
I like that, date the rate.
Exactly. So you don't have, and that's the thing is, if you've got inventory, you've got selection right now. We haven't had that for a long time. So there's a lot more inventory out there for people.
Take your time too.
Yeah, you don't have to look at a house on Friday and buy it on Thursday because
and have a bidding war.
Exactly. Yeah. So for sure. So yeah, but market stats right now on single family, sales are up marginally, 0.09%. So we can see that in the slide. Sales for single family homes are up 0.9%. The benchmark sold price, which is up 0.6%. And inventory, that's probably the biggest one right now. We're up 38.9% in inventory, which is huge.
Yeah.
But
lots of choice.
But on that note, days on market are actually down.
I just saw that. That's interesting, right? So
it is. So this is where you're saying, okay, well, benchmark price is up a little bit. Days on market are down. Inventory's up. So what's happening? Things are still selling.
Are people putting houses on the market as they see the rates come down, maybe, that they were sitting on the sidelines for a while?
You know what? I don't have an answer to on it, but for sure. But I think that people are just tired of holding on to them and waiting for the market to change. The inventory just slowly building because we're not seeing the absorption rates that we've had in earlier years and things like that.
We did see that half, like 0.5 cut in the U.S.
Yep.
And then maybe there's some anticipation that we'll get a bigger cut here.
Well, that's what I'm reading is they're forecasting now a half a point in our October meeting, which before they were forecasting a quarter point. So lots of numbers coming out in the next few weeks on jobs and things like that. That'll probably.
There was a disappointing job number this morning out of the U.S. too, and I think we're starting to see those recessionary things starting to kick in, right? So
read an article this morning that they're thinking that we're going to see inflation dip below 2%, which starts to become a concern as well. But I think a lot of it really comes down to too is the economy in BC. I mean, there's hearing some numbers about the amount of younger people that are thinking of leaving the province is staggering. Yeah. I think a huge issue because that's a bit of a brain drain for us.
Right?
It is the future.
You know what I mean? If you're just left with a bunch of old guys like you and I, and it's saying who's going to pay the bills, right?
We're in trouble, Jim, if it's just you and I. But sales are up marginally in the condo sales. Average sold price is up a little bit. And your inventory, again, dramatically up at 31%. But days on market. So there are still things happening. There's people out there. It's just, again, those folks that are taking advantage of it right now, they're getting a lot more inventory to look at.
To look at for sure.
And shop and enjoy for sure. So it makes a huge difference. And then in townhouses, we're seeing a lot of the same thing here. Sales are up a little bit. This is the first one. The average sold price is down a little bit. But days on market, again, are down. But again, inventory up almost at 30%. So.
And townhomes are kind of that in between, right? In between the condo and the single family home, right? Where you're kind of getting an attached kind of property, but it still has like a level entry usually.
You can have a backyard to have the kids play in. You get a private garage usually with it. So it is definitely a bit of a sweet spot in there.
Where starter home kind of thing too, right? So
it is for sure a bit of a starter home. But, with single family homes, right now, our sales are up dramatically, or not dramatically, but up a large portion between $800,000 and $1 million. Where the market's really been pushed down is, over $1 million or over $1 million and up is where the market's really been pushed down.
So if you got lots of money, cash, you can go buy yourself a really nice home.
Great opportunity to pick up. There's lots of there's lots of inventory and choice in that market for sure.
So you could sell your house in Vancouver for $10 million, your small house, and buy like a really large house here and have $5 million left.
Well, that's what was really driving our market in 2001 and 2002 are those big centers of people leaving and selling those large homes or not large homes, expensive homes, and coming up here and buying twice the home for half the money. So that's what really drove our market. Yeah, exactly. Put money in the bank for sure. So, all in all, I think, like I said a little earlier, I think people are just treading water. They're just waiting to see what's going on. But, we're not seeing that dramatic drop on anything. Everything is just kind of staying pretty even keel.
Where do you think the market heats up at what interest rate, right? Because we're 4.25 right now, right?
You know what? I think I think we're going to start to see that activity increase when we start to see money for 5 years under 4%. You start to see a 3-point-something% 5-year money. I think that's where people are going to start to say, hey, you know what?
They'll take that mortgage at that
They'll
point,
take
right?
that mortgage, right? But when you're seeing, we were seeing 5s and 6s for 5-year money, when you start seeing it back into the 3, and we're you can get some stuff close to the 4s in those no-name mortgage. But the top 5 banks, you're probably around 4.5 for 5 years. So
I don't think we're going to see, like, there were some mortgages out there, 3-year money, especially, the 1.75 and stuff like that. I don't think we're going to see that for a long time.
If we see that again, I think we probably have a lot bigger economic issues to be dealing with than worrying about home sales and things like that.
So I think that sweet spot, like you're saying, in that, like a 2.75, I think their target rate is to get down to I'm just talking about the Bank
of Canada rate.
Yeah, their rate. Like, I think they're hoping to get in that 2.5 range or something like that.
Yeah. And from what we're hearing, or what I've been reading anyways, is, we're going to probably be into that 3% rate probably by the end of January. I'm hearing, reading a few of the different economists that are talking about 2.5 points and a 1/4 point in the next 3 meetings. So it'll be interesting to see where we go. But if we see that large of a drop, I think our market will start to definitely change.
Because new homes being added, I mean, we had a dramatic drop in new homes, like new home builds. So that means it's all in the resale market, really, right?
Totally. I mean, that's a huge that issue is we're not being faced with it right at this moment because there's a lot of condos and stuff that are coming to the market. There's probably 3 or 4 developments that are starting to close over the next couple of months here. So we've got that immediate time taken. But in a year, 2 years, 3 years, there's been no new projects that are underway.
Right? Because like you're saying, Cabana's, I think, closing before Christmas, and so is Aqua.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot, and I think Movala Stage 1 might be, a little bit behind that, but there's not a lot of other projects that are finishing up, right?
Nothing major.
And nothing starting.
No.
Right? Like
No.
I haven't seen. There's a lot of rental stuff coming, but if you're purchasing, I don't know if anybody's really. Westridge on the west side is doing some stuff, but like. Not a lot of stuff where you used to see all these cranes out there, right?
Well, and we don't have a lot of spec builders with a ton of homes being built either. They're all sitting there waiting on the sidelines as well for the market to change or absorb the little bit of inventory that they have. So we will, housing starts across Canada are down, and they're saying that we need to increase housing starts dramatically to solve
the interest rate is choking anybody off that wants to like speculate and start building homes, right? Like, builders, right? Because they can't sell them and they can't sit on that much, like financing too, especially high rates. Right?
You're not building a home anymore for $500,000, right? So the builders are definitely way further out on a limb than they've ever used to be. And a lot of it too comes down to is the time it takes for a project to get off the ground. Our government is really, I don't know if it's paralyzed to make a decision or whatever it is, but, when you start to ask a developer to, take 3 years or 4 years before they get their project approved and in the ground, nobody knows what the market's doing at that time. It really becomes a very expensive thing. And a lot of, most people perceive a developer as to be making a ton of money. The margins that most developers operate on are a lot narrower than most people think they are.
Well, even if we look at the example of a carriage home, and I know you got to go right away, but a carriage home, like the DCCs or the CEC costs used to be like $2,500, and they raised them to like $28,000, right? That's just for the paperwork. That's not to put any that's wood or anything. That's just for
another level of tax.
Yeah, and they were told that the ministry told them that theirs was way too cheap, that they need to raise it. Yeah, at the same time, they're saying you got to build more houses, make it more accessible. And how does that make it more accessible, right?
Well, affordability, if you could take it, it'd be really nice to be able to actually look at a $1 million new construction item and determine out of that $1 million how much is actually
value added.
No, tax.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean, value added. Yeah. Like how much of that is wood and nails and how much of that is just paperwork?
And money going to the government, and when I talk about the tax base, I don't just talk about the DCCs and things like that, but you've got all of your property land transfer tax. Yeah. You've got your
GST.
You've got all the taxes that are on the wages of the people who built them, right? I mean, it's unbelievable the level of tax, and I think that's where our government is in our way right now, and that's the difference I think between the different types of governments we have. Got to get a pro-business government back in the province, or we're going to continue to see our younger population move.
It's funny when they stand at the podium and they say they got to build more houses, yet they're the ones that are actually the biggest impediment, right?
Yep.
Impediment.
Definitely.
And tax, right?
For sure
it just
they
becomes harder and harder to build something, right?
So
it's, when you talk about value add, right?
we did. Well, you know what? Next time we chat, I think we'll have the next Bank of Canada rate. So what we'll do, maybe I'll chat with Marlon and see if we can bring Marlon back in and have that conversation about interest rates and what CIBC is seeing the future of the interest rate is going to be like.
That'd be great.
Awesome.
And with that said, we thank you for watching Kelowna Now.